Malaysia, Netherlands, anybody from Netherlands? Nigeria, Peru, Portugal, Republic of Korea, who are going to host the ministerial meeting in November, Saudi Arabia, Singapore. Thank you for the Global Access Conference. You did a good job there. Well arranged and well conducted. Spain, South Africa.
Good day, Prof. and colleagues. As Wasiso Masudu from the National Institute for Communicable Diseases.
You are welcome. Thank you. Tanzania, Thailand, Uganda.
Chair, Uganda is represented. Lennox and Peter here from Uganda.
Well, team is on, sir.
Thank you. United Kingdom.
Hello, everybody. Dave Elliott here from the UK's International Biosecurity Programme.
Welcome. Ukraine.
Hi, this is Anna Prihatko from the Public Health Center of the Ministry of Health of Ukraine.
Welcome. USA.
Good morning, everyone. This is Pavan Angra from US CDC in Atlanta.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the speak of the other meetings. Aga Khan University.
Hi, good morning. Fatma Aziz from Aga Khan University.
Abasa.
Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Luis Ochoa from APP3 International.
Aslam. ASEAN. Africa CDC. Dr. Tokmo said he was not feeling well. Is Dr. Tokmo on?
Yes, Chair, I'm following. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. BTWC. AISU. Kafa.
Good day,
House.
colleagues. Sasha here. Over.
Oh, welcome. Chatham House.
Hello, everyone. Ben Wakefield from Chatham House.
Okay. CRDF. FAO. IAEA. IEGBBR. IFBA. IGEM. American Company.
Here from my
You are welcome. NTI. Unicre.
Hi, so there's a few of us on from NTI.
Oh, thank you very much. Unicre. Vatic.
Hi, it's Thomas Brown from Vertic.
Thank you for coming. WHO. Wow. West African Organization, are you there? Okay, thank you very much. If anybody comes, we will introduce them later. So now it's my pleasure to call upon Hale, the Deputy President for NTI, Global Biological Policy and Program. Her role presently is to support team leads to reduce biological risks in NTI. But prior to that, she was a senior advisor to the Office of the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for countering weapons of mass destruction. And she was very instrumental in her efforts to push US agenda for global security. We really welcome you here to talk to us, and we are ready to listen to you. Thank you very much. Please take the floor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mukumbi. And great to see so many familiar faces here. And I'll apologize in advance if you hear my dog howling in the background. I have locked him in the basement for this presentation, and he is not happy about it. So thank you for having me, and to the chairs, the APP3, for leading this very productive group. And today I will be talking to you about the International Biosecurity and Biosafety Initiative for Science, or IBIS. And just as a reminder, I'm speaking to you from my position at NTI, and NTI is a nonprofit, nonpartisan global security organization focused on reducing nuclear and biological threats that imperil humanity. Can we go to the next slide, please? So first, some background. NTI has been convening the Biosecurity Innovation and Risk Reduction Initiative, like you see here on this slide, since about 2018, where basically we bring together a bunch of really smart people across the public and private sectors to talk about the really beneficial applications of new biotechnologies that are transforming and advancing our society. But we also talk about the risks that these new technologies pose, in that they might be accidentally or deliberately used to cause a biological event with catastrophic consequences. So we also talk about how these risks are emerging in a world where governments have not been able to keep pace with rapid advances in science and technology, nor to provide sufficient oversight to guard against these risks. The Global Health Security Index found that only 6% of countries have national level oversight measures for dual use research. So this is a very ubiquitous, a global problem. So over the years, the participants of BERI have come up with really concrete solution sets and tools that would incentivize actors to take action to reduce risks associated with those advances in technology. The group started to recognize that the tools that they were, developing and piloting could be really useful and powerful, but there was no one institutional home that could really house and manage these tools, because this problem set is really at the intersection between health and security, and they needed to be used by actors across private sector, academia, and the public sector. So there's not one global institutional home that kind of reaches across that broad swath of actors, while remains really focused on this issue of reducing emerging risks associated with technology advances. So in September 2020, this group agreed that a new institution would really be needed that dedicates its primary mission to safeguarding the life sciences and to guarding against catastrophic biological events that can result from deliberate abuse or accidental misuse. Next slide. And that is how the idea for the International Biosecurity and Biosafety Initiative for Science, or IBIS, came about. I should make it clear here that IBIS is intended to be a separate, independent global entity. For example, it won't be managed by NTI, but it will be a globally oriented, agile, innovative, and collaborative organization that is really focused on providing useful solutions for reducing emerging risks associated with advances in technology. Next slide. The mission of IBIS will be to safeguard science and reduce the risk of catastrophic events that could result from deliberate abuse or accidental misuse of bioscience and biotechnology. To achieve this, IBIS will work collaboratively with global partners to strengthen biosecurity norms and develop innovative tools to uphold them. And overall, the vision is a world in which bioscience and biotechnology can advance and flourish safely and responsibly. While IBIS has a broad mission, when it's launched, its initial scope of work will be narrowly focused on developing tools to bolster DNA synthesis screening practices by providers around the world, with the intention of expanding its scope of activities over time. The purpose of our work on DNA synthesis screening is to really help ensure that the building blocks of dangerous pathogens do not fall into the hands of malicious actors. And while most DNA providers voluntarily screen their orders and their customers, not all DNA providers have adopted this practice, and this gap constitutes a significant vulnerability. Moreover, there's no national requirement to screen DNA synthesis orders in any country around the world. There are quite a few that are in talks and in development, but none that we have seen that sufficiently cover the significant vulnerability. So to address these gaps, NTI and the World Economic Forum have been working on with a technical consortium of experts across industry and the biosecurity community to develop an international common mechanism for DNA synthesis screening, which will be really the initial scope of IBIS. But as I said, that scope will expand over time. And go to the next slide. So this is where we see IBIS's expanded scope going. The unique value that IBIS will offer in the global biosecurity space is that it will develop and make available innovative practical tools and incentive structures to reduce biological risks throughout the research and development life cycle. And you'll see that depicted on this slide. So looking at interventions that could be applied at the funding stage, actually during the research or the biotech development process, at the stage where providers of materials and services would be giving out those goods. So how can we create better screening practices, as I talked about for DNA synthesis, but that is also expanded across kind of the market for biological research goods and services. And then on to publication or commercialization. At that stage, what risk reduction measures could we put in place to reduce the risk of accidental or deliberate misuse? So there's not at one point you cannot reduce the risk down to zero, but we're thinking that IBIS can help stakeholders put in place kind of this layered system of defense to reduce risk overall. Next slide, please. So some examples of the concrete tools that IBIS could produce in addition to the DNA synthesis screening common mechanism. IBIS could focus on, for example, a biofunders compact or an effort among a broad range of public and private sector funders to incentivize the inclusion of biosecurity considerations when they're reviewing proposals and before awarding grants or investments. IBIS could, for example, develop what we have been calling a biosecurity seal of approval, or a certification that provides reputational or commercial incentive for companies or academic research institutions to encourage them to follow biosecurity best practices. As we know, currently the incentive structures in place kind of go against putting in place biosecurity measures. So how do we kind of switch up those incentive structures by, for example, providing this seal of approval that would maybe bring, additional support or funding to the institution. IBIS may also collaborate with editors and publishers of scientific publications to improve their biosecurity review of manuscripts to reduce the risks of public release of information hazards. And I know, from my previous collaborations with this group, that was one thing that we had discussed in the past. How do we reduce those info hazard risks without preventing the timely dissemination of information, especially during things like the COVID-19 crisis. IBIS might be able to help identify strategies that enable systematic improvements in biosafety and biosecurity risk management across that research lifecycle by working and sharing information across a diverse set of partners that fund, support, perform, or publish life science research. And we're doing this work in partnership with Stanford right now as kind of a pilot project that IBIS could eventually adopt. And I think at least some of you are participating in that, kind of being transparent about your own practices that would help reduce risks overall. And if you'll excuse me for 1 second, I have someone at my door. I'm just going to let them in very quickly. Okay, sorry about that. The downsides of working from home. IBIS could also work with liability insurers to incorporate considerations for biosecurity risks when, for example, insuring laboratories and companies. And IBIS will be an overall resource to stakeholders across the research and development lifecycle, including national governments, providing advice for how and best practices for how they can implement risk reduction solutions across research and technology development within their countries. Next slide, please, Gabby. This slide is just really to illustrate that while IBIS will have a big mission, it will be very small in terms of number of personnel to start. We are getting close to finalizing who the executive director will be, and which is very exciting. And I imagine once they are in place, you will hear from them. But this is really meant to show that the organization itself may not be very big, but they will rely on technical advice and engagement from experts across sectors and regions, as they're doing currently through engagement with the technical consortium, which is really guiding the development of our common mechanism for DNA synthesis screening. Next slide, please. And this just shows how IBIS will expand its scope of activities. It will also expand its footprint with additional technical leads and staff. Next slide. So our progress towards making IBIS reality. NTI has made a lot of progress since that September 2020 decisional point where the group said, we really think this institution is needed. So throughout 2021, we convened an international steering group of experts to help guide the process. We have developed a scoping study that really outlines the key attributes of IBIS. We've made significant progress towards fundraising goals, and we've worked really with a branding firm to develop kind of how IBIS will look to external audiences, and this presentation is part of that, and developing all the fun stuff of developing the logo and the mission statement. We've worked with a marketing firm on that, and we're currently recruiting, as I mentioned, the executive director and getting very close to that decision. Next slide, please. One of the biggest parts of kind of introducing IBIS to the world is our socialization strategy. And we've taken kind of a two-pronged approach to socialization of IBIS. We conduct private briefings with key influential organizations and individuals. And that's really to build the core of political support and solicit feedback and address any concerns. And I kind of consider this briefing as part of that because this is kind of a close-knit group of experts. So I'd really love kind of your feedback questions to help us really refine the scope, mission, goals of IBIS moving forward. And then we've done a lot of public outreach. So more of those large efforts to reach out to more general audiences by publishing in media outlets and scientific journals, and also presenting at international conferences. Next slide, please. And this, sorry, the print is a little small on here. I didn't realize how small that was, but this is an outline of kind of that second part of our socialization strategy, the broader public outreach. We've done quite a few kind of more technical engagements in the summer. And as we go toward the fall and winter, we're looking at potentially either presenting at or on the sidelines of the Global Partnership Working Group meeting at APSA International, the Carnegie India Global Technology Summit, and the WC RevCon as examples. And if we're lucky enough, we hope to also do more of a grand unveiling of IBIS as a new initiative during the WEF annual meeting or the Munich Security Conference early next year. Next slide, please. So how can this group help? As I mentioned, we'd love questions, suggestions, guidance on how to further shape IBIS as we look toward its launch late this year, early next year. But we would really love your help in increasing awareness of IBIS among your networks, which you all have tremendous and very geographically diverse networks. So we'd love your help in creating awareness about IBIS and its proposed mission. We would love your help in identifying additional socialization opportunities. You saw in the previous slide what we have roughly sketched out as our socialization milestones, but we're sure we're missing opportunities. So we'd love this group's advice on where we could further spread the word about IBIS. And then, you know, the thing that I'm not an expert in, but our communications team has been encouraging me is to amplify IBIS messages via social media. So we have quite a few like small videos we've produced that describe what IBIS is, and you can see the links here. So we'd love your help in getting those amplified via social media. We will have more content coming soon, including a teaser website that will allow you to sign up and stay connected with all IBIS activities going forward. Given that this group is such a like globally recognized group of experts, we expect, you know, the people on this call to be involved in IBIS activities going forward. We're also developing longer kind of explainer videos in addition to the ones that we have posted on YouTube that will help in the further socialization of IBIS. Next slide, please. So thank you for your time. And as always, please be in touch. I've put my email into the chat, but it's also in these slides that I think have been sent out by the meeting organizers. So we look forward to continuing to engage with you as key global experts as IBIS stands up and contributes to global efforts to safeguard bioscience and biotechnology so that it can advance and flourish safely and responsibly. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. That was very exciting. We have about 5 minutes to discuss or to give your feedback on your presentation, and I will request for members to, by show of hands, who wants to clarification or questions, so that kindly jot them down and you answer all the comments at the end. I don't see any hands. Is there any hands? Okay, I see Michelle. Please take the floor.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Haley, for the presentation. I'm curious how the work of IBIS will link in with existing work that's happening internationally. You gave the example of dual use and how not many countries have a strong oversight system. And my mind immediately went to the framework that the WHO has developed and some of the work that the IEGBBR is doing. Space. I'm just curious how you're planning on linking in existing work that's happening. So it's not.
Okay, thank you very much. Another one? Any other? Yeah, Prof. Maxwell.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Hailey. Thank you very much for this, Hailey. I think it's very, very insightful. But I'm coming from the perspective that the issue of dual use of research of concern is not jurisdictional. It cuts across. It's international phenomenon. I can see already you're taking a step within the jurisdiction of the US. Do you have any plan how you can bring the other, stakeholders? We are here, there are other parts of the country. Besides, of course, the engagement of outreach and all this and that, do you have any plan how you can support them so that a similar undertaking initiative might be established? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other hand? Any other clarification or question? I don't see any. Okay, as the chair was wondering, is IBIS going to be part of the international organization in this forum of AP3. What is the position? The other one is that since NTI is not going to manage the IBBS, who is appointing the board? Thank you. I think you could go ahead and give us a feedback on that.
Perfect.
I don't see any other hand. Yeah.
Thank you very much. All very important questions. And thank you to Michelle for raising the point of how this will work in the kind of international space, given that both WHO and UNODA from BWC work on these issues. And we see IBIS as really kind of filling space between health and security, so between the World Health Organization and UNODA, to address these issues. And I know there have been, recent developments in cooperation between those two entities through the Risk Working Group. But we see IBIS as kind of being able to be very kind of flexible and agile as an independent organization in order to explore risks that these rapidly developing technologies are posing, and to be really more on the side of developing like practical tools, for example, that industry would use. And a great example is the common mechanism for DNA synthesis screening. This is, it'll be a practical tool, like a software tool that can be downloaded and used to not only help reduce the barrier for DNA synthesis companies to screen, but also to provide national governments with a reason to not be as hesitant to put in place like policies and regulations that require, for example, DNA synthesis screening, because they won't have to worry, for example, of slowing down their bioeconomy. And so IBIS can be like a resource for national governments that are really looking to put into place kind of these very, these risk reduction solutions without slowing down the necessary pace of technological advancement. And so, while, for example, WHO and UNODA have an incredibly valuable role in putting into place, for example, biosecurity norms and guidance for upholding them, IBIS, we see value in providing those practical tools that will help actually uphold those norms. And I will say part of it will be an advocacy arm in encouraging strengthening of those norms at the pace at which technology develops. So there will be a little bit of pushing, we really should be considering this on the international stage for strengthening norms. So I hope that answers your question, Michelle, but please, after I address the other comments, feel free to pop back in with any further clarifications. Maxwell, great question about kind of IBIS's scope. Is it, really focused on the US? I will say no, and it's unfortunate that NTI, our headquarters is in the US, but we really are an international security organization. And so IBIS is really geared in the same way, really meant to be representative and incorporate feedback and expertise and advice from across the world. And so we are in the process of, setting up its leadership structure, its governing board, and that we will seek to make broadly representative in order to ensure views across the world and across sectors is taken into account. This is really important because different countries are at different places in terms of their technological development. And we don't want to, for example, recommend best practices that are good for countries with kind of a booming bioeconomy, but are bad for countries that are just in the beginning stages of developing their bioeconomy. So we want to make sure that we're considering, all sides of that space. So I hope this answers your question, Maxwell, but feel free to clarify. And then Dr. Mukumbi, yeah, so since NTI will not be managing this new organization, it will be an independent organization. We are seeking advice from our international steering group on who might be appropriate members for the governing board, and our international steering group of experts is representative of philanthropy, academia, regional organizations like Africa CDC, industry, importantly, and experts in the international global biosecurity space. So we have kind of taken very meaningful steps kind of at all points in development to ensure broad diversity in terms of both sectors represented and regions represented. So please, Michelle, Maxwell, I saw your note, thank you. But if there are any further clarifications, I'd be happy to address those now.
Thank you very much, El, for the inspiring presentation. I'm sure those who have, they can always come back and give you some more comments. But the next item on the agenda, so on behalf of everybody, really, we thank you very much for sparing your time, and hope you are, those people, some of those people you locked up should be now unlocked, others will be annoyed. So may I now call upon presentation from activities, ongoing activities and initiative from members, so that we can share and see what's going on. Before you do that, I would like to really thank the members who stepped out and really came out to lead us in some of our strategic objectives and action. I think that was very, very good. And we also proposed some guidelines as to how your role and how you lead us in some of these strategic objectives. Please, if you have any questions about that and you have any suggestions, please, we shall welcome it for further discussion. I thank you very much for those leads on our strategic objectives. May I hear now from our members on ongoing activities, initiatives. But you can just put up your hand and I'll give you the floor. Do I see any hand? Yeah, Camila, please take the floor. Camila, take the floor, please, followed by Angra. Camila, please take the floor. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I won't take much of your time. My name is Camila. I'm speaking on behalf of IGS, the Initiative for Global Security. I would like to make two announcements. No, first of all, I would like to present a grant opportunity that CRDF is organizing. It will award grants globally to a researcher or team of researchers at STEM-focused universities. Just to know, there's more information on the site, and the deadline is on August 31st. And secondly, and in this moment is like my main objective, I would like to mention that IGS, along with CRDF, are organizing a one-day workshop on biosecurity and critical proliferator state-focused biosecurity concerns. And this workshop is mainly aimed for participants from Argentina, Brazil, and Mexico. And it will take place in the form of a side event. So in this regard, if anyone knows of an event of these related topics that could potentially host our side event, please feel free to share it with us, because we're still considering alternatives and looking for the perfect one. Ideally, no later than mid-2023. But yes, we're still looking for the perfect event. So thank you for your time. If you have any doubts on especially on the grant part or on the event, please, I'm going to put my email on the chat. So don't hesitate to reach out and write to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Camila. Please put your email on the chat so that we can follow. Yes, Pran, Angara.
Yeah, good morning, everyone, and greetings. So as you know, the CDC is continually working at the ground level in establishing and strengthening the biosafety and biosecurity activities. So this month, like I'm giving you from updates from the two countries. So in Mali, so we had conducted with the help of ASLM, trained the 20 lab persons from the 4 regional labs, Bamako, Case, Sikasu, and Sego, in the use of maintenance and disinfection and the of the biosafety cabinets. So this was like this training had the learning sessions and the hands-on training. And also at the same time, we conducted an inventory of the biosafety cabinets in the country, which is, I think, a very good first step for having a biosafety programs. And also, it was demonstrated how to install a biosafety cabinets, which was actually done practically in one hospital lab in Bamako. And in the another activity in Mali, with the help of our implementing partner, Johns Hopkins Program for International Education in Gynecology and Obstetrics and Global, and also with the Global Scientific Solutions for Health. So we conducted 2 training sessions on biosafety and biosecurity. 40 participants from all over Mali, all regions they came and they participated in it. And so this training session had the biosafety and biosecurity modules and facilitator guide, which was approved by the Ministry of Health. So this went very well. And in the another update is from the Nigeria. So we commissioned the biorepository at the Central Public Health Lab in Lagos. So the CDC and the CDC Nigeria and with the Institute of Human Virology Nigeria and our implementing partner strengthening global health security in the agenda under the CARES Act. So we expanded the biobanking system in the CPHL Lagos. So that includes the renovation, all that, everything kind of, and also conducted the training of the lab persons by the biorepository science and the planning and setup management, all the biosafety, biosecurity aspects, and the IATA compliant of the infectious shipping guidelines, they were all covered during these trainings. So currently this facility can store up to 256,000 specimens and its capacity will be increased very soon. So this facility was commissioned and opened for services on August 11th. In the another activity is we installed with the help of we procured with the help of DTRA, Defense Threat Reduction Agency, high temperature incinerator. So that incinerator is now installed at the National Reference Lab in Abuja. So these are the main activities which I wanted to share with you. Rest for the other COVID and the monkeypox related activities, we'll provide the guide and the links for the members, and I'll share these updates with you. Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Gabi, can you please can you share the action points from the last meeting so that people I remind the people about the action points in that last meeting? Gabi, please, can you share that slide? Yeah.
Yes, give me 1 second to pull it up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Meanwhile, if there are any coming meetings, events, please be ready to tell us as we look at the, please, if you are giving us activities, kindly link it to our strategic objective, so that it's very clear that our strategic objectives are being worked on. All those presentation of activities or events, whenever you present, link them to our objectives so that we know which objective is being addressed in that area or in that country. Please remember to do that because it will help us to see that our objectives are being addressed. Gabi, please. I just wanted to remind you, or some of them have like submit community updates, community corner updates. I think the day has passed, but we have something. Number 2, ideas for Global Security Webinar Series meeting, AP3 to present. We are going to present in September. So please, we still need ideas. Can you kindly present them? This was an action point. We have not received any from members. And of course, the third one, impact stories. And we have already shared the template for really submitting impact stories pertaining to biosecurity and biosafety. And it's very easy. You just fill in that template, and there the impact story will be appear. So kindly please furnish us with this information because we need it to move forward. Thank you very much. I think you can put it down. I was just reminding members about those activities. We need feedback from members. Please give us a feedback on those activities because they are very critical, and we agreed on them in the last meeting. I don't see any. Now let's go to any upcoming programs or events or meetings. Does anybody have? I think Camila has already told us something. Anybody?
Sure, there's a hand from Gabby.
Yeah.
What?
Hi, Dr. Mukumbi.
Yes, please.
Hi. So this is pertaining back to the APP3 work plan, but a part of the work plan, we have an action item that just goes into any trainings that APP3 members want. So, and these trainings can just be like the presentations that we host at the beginning of each of our monthly meetings, similar to what Haley did this morning for IBIS. So if anyone wants a specific speaker to come and speak to the group on a specific subject, this can be anything from like GE updates or upcoming events that are ongoing that APP3 could potentially be a part of. If anyone has any recommendations on what they would like to hear on, please just submit those to us. We're working with Merrick to get those presentations for you guys. So you can just email those recommendations to us, and we will work to get speakers throughout the rest of the year. And I'll also remind everyone to do this when I send out the meeting minutes next week.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's very important. Let's all of us develop the agenda together so that it's not from only the co-chairs or the secretariat. We also need to hear from you what we need, things of interest, so that we don't leave some of the things which you know better and are of value to us, so that you know. So please, let's build the agenda together all the time. If you have something, we can send it to us, and then we can work either with you or just make sure that we align it in our meetings or in our program agenda. That will be very, very, very important. Thank you very much. Allow me to really thank our speaker, Haley, for the inspiring speech and presentation, and those who have given us some insights. Peter, you have something before I want to adjourn the meeting?
Yes, Dr. So Dr. Issa, I just wanted to inform colleagues I attended the AMR action package meeting, and there was a presentation by the team from South Korea, and we'll try to get them on one of the next calls. But one of the updates that they have is that they have changed the agenda that was previously sent out. So day one of the meeting, which is the 28th, the day will be spent with side events. Then day 2, we'll have the steering group meeting in the morning, and then the normal, the simulation exercise and the gala in the evening. And then the ministerial will be on day 3, which is the 30th. So this change was inspired by a request by 2 action packages to have side events. We were one of the action packages. So this is also just to inform colleagues, whoever is interested in being part of a side event can express their interest to the co-chairs or Gabby or Jacob, our secretariat. But then also, if colleagues are interested in having an in-person conference meeting in Korea in November, you can also let us know so that we organize to have the November meeting in person, duo, even virtual, but since it will be in the evening on Korean time, most of the time a routine meeting. But yeah, just express your interest. We'll try to get the South Korea team to present on this in one of the upcoming meetings, but just so you know, for now, that is it. Over.
Okay, thank you very much. Because the first program, there was no side events, but now if they have agreed to put side events, and AP3 is one of them, so that means that members, we need to, what are we going to showcase? We need to put our heads together. What are we going to showcase as AP3 on that in that side event? So again, we need ideas from you. Because we up to November, we need to develop this. Maybe by October, we forward our suggestions or what we are going to showcase in that meeting. I think that was an opportunity, really, because at the beginning there was nothing like side meeting. So please, members, that is also an action point where we need the people to tell us what should we show there, and who, so that really we work on this as early as possible, refine it so that really the product we shall showcase there is worth, seeing or attending to. I thank you. Thank you very much, members. Allow me to thank all those who have contributed, and also allow me to adjourn the meeting. See you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Chair.
Welcome.